Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Nithai Gauranga ki, Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continued readings from Granthavad Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 5, Chapter 20, Text 29. Of course, today is Nityananda Trayodasi, so we'll be talking a little bit about the verse and a little bit about Lord Nityananda. So, translation. Outside the ocean of yogurt is another island known as Puksharadvip, which is 6,400,000 yojanas, 51,200,000 miles wide, twice as wide as the ocean of yogurt. It is surrounded by an ocean of very tasteful water, as broad as the island itself. On Puksharadvip there is a great lotus flower, with 100 million pure golden petals, as effulgent as the flames of fire. That lotus flower is considered the sitting place of Lord Brahma, who is the most powerful living being, and who is therefore sometimes called Bhagavan. Text 30. In the middle of that island is a great mountain named Manasarovar, which forms the boundary between the inner side and the outer side of the island. Its breadth and height are 100,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles. On that mountain in the four directions are the residential quarters of demigods such as Indra. In the chariot of the sun god, the sun travels on the top of the mountain in an orbit called Samvatsar, encircling Mount Meru. The sun's path on the northern side is called Uttarayana, and its path on the southern side is called Dakshinayana. One side represents a day for the demigods, and the other represents their night. Purport. The movement of the sun is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Yasyagya Brahmati Sambritakala Chakra. The sun orbits around Mount Sumeru for 6 months on the northern side and for 6 months on the southern side. This adds up to the duration of a day and night of the demigods in the upper planetary systems. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna everyone, thank you all for being here, and please give your blessings so we can have a interesting discussion this morning. Of course, we're just continuing on with our studies in Bhagvatam on the structure of the universe. So we've been hearing some very beautiful descriptions, very elaborate distances and islands and oceans. So today actually we're hearing about Lord Brahma, who is sitting on 100 million golden lotus petals. So because today is the auspicious day of Lord Nityananda's appearance day, we know that Lord Nityananda, he's actually the spiritual master of everyone. Lord Nityananda is Balaram himself, who's the first expansion of Krishna, and he operates as the spiritual master, actually, of everyone. So I wanted to just examine a little bit today more about our own disciplic succession, our own Guru Parampara, because specifically we're hearing about Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma is the founder Acharya of our entire disciplic succession, the Brahma Sampradaya, into which Lord Chaitanya actually favored by having his appearance and taking initiation in this Sampradaya, so it's particularly glorified for that reason. And of course we'll discuss a little bit about Lord Nityananda and maybe a few pastimes, just to prepare ourselves for the wonderful day ahead of us. So there's many references, of course, going into detail about Lord Brahma, but actually what was mentioned in the purport here was one verse from the Brahma Samhita. It's a book that some of us have been studying, and I wanted to just share a few verses because we may not be so familiar with the position of Lord Brahma. We know that we're in his disciplic succession and he's the first created being, but what we're hearing here, I think perhaps we may not be so familiar with, that he's sitting on this divine, golden, transcendental lotus flower. So I thought I would just share a few verses from Sri Brahma Samhita, giving us a little more insight into Lord Brahma. This is from the Sri Brahma Samhita, and this is text 18. When Vishnu, lying in the ocean of milk, wills to create this universe, a golden lotus springs from his navel pit. The golden lotus with its stem is the abode of Brahma, representing Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. And this, of course, has commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, which is very advanced, so we'll probably just stick to the texts for now. The divine lotus which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu is in every way related by the spiritual tie with all souls, and is the origin of four-faced Brahma, versed in the four Vedas. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions, but he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. Then the goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all directions. O Brahma, this mantra is Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Vallabhaya Svaha will assuredly fulfill your heart's desire. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, then all your desires will be fulfilled. Brahma, being desirous of satisfying Govinda, practiced the cultural acts for Krishna in Goloka, Lord of Shvetadeep, for a long time. His meditation ran thus: there exists a divine lotus of 1,000 petals, augmented by millions of filaments in the transcendental realm of Goloka. On its world there exists a great divine throne on which is seated Sri Krishna, the form of eternal effulgence and transcendental bliss, playing on his divine flute resonant with the divine sound with his lotus mouth. He is worshipped by his amorous milkmaids with their respective subjective portions and extensions, and also by his external energy, who stays outside, embodying all mundane qualities. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, being made manifest, imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered into the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself through his 8 ear holes. The lotus-born Brahma, having received the Gayatri, sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of twice born, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, embodying the three Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn. And then begins actually the very famous Brahma Samhita prayers that we chant, which would be really nice to chant, but I don't think we have time. Anyway, this is a very important understanding and description of how Brahma received his enlightenment by the mercy of Krishna, that he was actually initiated by the sound of Krishna's flute. The Gayatri mantra is described as the sound of Krishna's flute that Lord Brahma heard, and it came out of his mouth as the Gayatri mantra. And he went on to explain the Vedas and accept disciples and to continue our disciplic succession, the original preceptor being actually Krishna himself. So similarly, on today, we understand that Krishna expands himself as Lord Balaram. That's the first expansion. And Lord Balaram in Gaura Lila, he manifests as Lord Nityananda. So, again, understanding our connection with Lord Nityananda is very critical for understanding many facets of our Krishna consciousness, to Guru Tattva, and to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, actually we have to go through Lord Nityananda. So, moving on to maybe just a little description of Lord Chaitanya, I think first we may want to, as Gokulnanda mentioned, review the Tattva before getting into pastimes. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj has a whole chapter entitled The Glories of Nityananda Prabhu. So we'll just avail ourselves to that brief description. He says, "Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Sri Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose opulence is wonderful and unlimited. By his will, even a fool can understand his identity. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I have described the glory of Sri Krishna Chaitanya in 6 verses. Now in 5 verses I shall describe the glory of Lord Nityananda. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body." So this is important to understand, that Lord Balaram is not different from Krishna. They're actually one identity in 2 bodies. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, we'll hear about that. They're not distinct individuals, rather they're the same person, just in 2 bodies. These 2 are one and the same identity. They differ only in form. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. That original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Seshanaga, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karna ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portions. Lord Balaram is the original Sankarshan. He assumes 5 other forms to serve Lord Krishna. He himself helps in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and he does the work of creation in 4 other forms. He executes the orders of Lord Krishna in the work of creation, and in the form of Lord Shesha, he serves Krishna in various ways. In all the forms, he tastes the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. That same Balaram is Lord Nityananda, the companion of Lord Gaurasundar. So here we're hearing again how the principal nature of love of God is characterized by the mood of service. And that service is actually coming from Balaram. So if we actually want to get an understanding of what is devotional service bhakti, we have to establish our relationship with Lord Balaram. And Lord Nityananda is the merciful manifestation of Lord Balaram. He's actually considered the most merciful incarnation of Godhead. So it's a great opportunity today to revive that spirit by very intensely praying or serving Lord Nityananda, who is the origin of this service mood. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan in the midst of the Chaturvyuha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. So that's just a description, just the tattva we can be conscious of, and I'd like to share maybe just a few pastimes, how Lord Chaitanya explained this understanding to some of his associates. One time Murari Gupta, who was a very dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya, direct associate of Lord Chaitanya, came to the house of Srivas, and Lord Chaitanya was there, and Lord Nityananda was there. So Murari Gupta, first he paid his obeisances to Lord Chaitanya. He said, "You're the Supreme Personality of God." And then he paid his obeisances to Lord Nityananda. Lord Chaitanya said, "What are you doing? Don't you know the etiquette?" And actually then he revealed himself in his form of Krishna, and Nityananda revealed himself in the form of Balaram. So immediately saw Krishna and Balaram there. And Lord Chaitanya explained, actually this is Lord Balaram. He's the original expansion, the spiritual master of everyone. One can only approach me by first approaching through the spiritual master, which is represented by Lord Balaram. So please, learn this etiquette, learn the tattva, please. So the next time he came back, and first he paid his obeisances to Lord Nityananda, and then he paid his obeisances to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya said, kind of jokingly, smiling, said, what are you doing? Don't you know the etiquette? And it was an exchange of love with his devotee. And Murari Gupta said, I don't know the etiquette, Lord. I only know whatever you instruct. That's my life and soul. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya was explaining that actually before approaching him, before approaching Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, we have to approach through the spiritual master and Lord Nityananda, Lord Balaram, which is a very important principle. Here we're hearing how Lord Brahma himself was initiated directly by Krishna, and our spiritual master is nothing but the representative of Krishna. It's how we have a direct connection with Krishna through the Guru. Brahma has a certain unique position. He's called Swayambhu, self-born, because he was the first created living entity in the universe. But we accept initiation via the spiritual master as a representative of Krishna. Now there's some more very wonderful pastimes in both Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So I'll just share a few of those. This is from the Adi Lila, the 17th chapter. This is describing a very important pastime. The Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda were observing Vyasa Puja. So we'll hear how that happened. Srivas Thakur then worshipped Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the process of Abhishek. Sitting on a cot, the Lord exhibited transcendental opulence. After this function at the house of Srivas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu appeared, and when he met with Lord Chaitanya, he got the opportunity to see him in his six-armed form. One day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited to Lord Nityananda Prabhu a six-armed form bearing a conch shell, disc, club, lotus flower, bow, and flute. Thereafter, the Lord showed him his four-armed form, standing in a three-curved posture. With two hands he played upon the flute, and in the other two he carried a conch shell and disc. Finally, the Lord showed Nityananda Prabhu his two-armed form of Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, simply playing on his flute, his bluish body dressed in yellow garments. In the purport, Sri Chaitanya Mangal, or Chaitanya Bhagavat, vividly elaborates upon this description. So we may get into that also. Nityananda Prabhu then arranged to offer Vyasa Puja, or worship of the spiritual master, to Lord Sri Gaur Sundar. But Lord Chaitanya carried the plough-like weapon called Mushala in the ecstasy of being Nityananda Prabhu. Thereafter, Mother Sachi Devi saw the brothers Krishna and Balaram in their manifestation of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Then the Lord delivered the two brothers, Jagai and Madai. So that's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. The same pastime is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And let's see, I think we can get into that a little bit also before we conclude here. This is in the 5th chapter of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. This is by Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is the incarnation actually of Vyasadeva in Gaur Lila. Glory to Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Krishna himself. He is the lamp of Navadvip and a lion who attacks the offenders. On a knotted string, he chants a fixed number of his own holy names. Glory, glory to Lord Chaitanya, the master of all lives. Glory to Lord Chaitanya, the master of Nityananda and Gadadhar. Glory, glory to Lord Chaitanya, who becomes the submissive servant of Advaita and the other devotees. O Lord, giving them the gift of pure devotional service, please deliver the poor people of this world. In this way, in Lord Nityananda's association, the devotees became overwhelmed, happily tasting the nectar of topics about Lord Krishna. They were all generous, kind, and noble-hearted devotees of the Lord. Intoxicated by tasting the nectar of Lord Krishna, they roared with happiness. Looking in the four directions, smiling, Lord Nityananda saw streams of bliss flowing from everyone's eyes. Observing this bliss, Lord Chaitanya said to Lord Nityananda, "Please hear, O Sripad Nityananda Goswami, where will your Vyasa Puja be? You know that tomorrow is the full moon day of your Vyasa Puja. Please say what is in your heart." Understanding Lord Chaitanya's hint, Lord Nityananda placed his hand on Srivas Pandit. Smiling, Lord Nityananda said, "Please hear, O Vishrambar, my Vyas Puja will be at this young Brahman's home." Then Lord Chaitanya said to Srivas, "A great burden is now placed on you." Srivas replied, "My Lord, it is not a burden. By your mercy my home has become everything. Cloth, moong dal, a yagya sutra, ghee, petal nuts, and betel leaves are all ready for the ceremony. I need only get a book describing how to perform this rite. Tomorrow I will become very fortunate. Then I will see the Vyas Puja." Lord Chaitanya was very pleased with Srivas's words. All the Vaishnavas said, "Hari, Hari." Lord Chaitanya said, "Listen, O Sripad Goswami, let us all go to Srivas Pandit's home. We will make it auspicious." Simply by entering Srivas's home, everyone felt the intense bliss of Lord Krishna present in their bodies. By Lord Chaitanya's order, the doors were closed. Except for relatives and close friends, no one could enter. Then Lord Chaitanya gave the order for kirtan. The sound of kirtan arose, and the external world went far away. Thus there was a blissful kirtan on the day before the Vyasa Puja. Surrounded by the singing devotees, the two lords danced. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda love each other eternally. Thinking of each other, they danced together. Some devotees shouted, some devotees roared, some devotees fell unconscious, some devotees wept. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda trembled, perspired, and fainted in ecstasy. They wept, and the hairs of their bodies stood erect. Who can describe their ecstatic symptoms? The two lords danced in spiritual bliss. One moment they embraced, and the next moment they wept. Each of the two lords wished to grasp the other's feet, but because they were both very intelligent, neither succeeded. Overcome with bliss, they rolled about on the ground, enjoying transcendental pastimes that they did not know who they were. Who can catch the person who holds the three worlds? Like wild madmen, the two lords enjoyed pastimes of chanting the holy names. "Chant, chant!" Lord Chaitanya screamed. His entire body was covered with perspiration from these blissful pastimes. In this way, the two lords danced in ecstasy. Who has the power to describe the bliss they felt? Then, to reveal the truth about Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, accepting the mood of Lord Balaram, accepted the throne of Lord Vishnu. So now Lord Chaitanya is accepting the position of Balaram. Accepting the mood of Lord Balaram, Lord Chaitanya, as if wild with intoxication, called out, "Bring wine! Bring wine!" Sometimes Lord Balaram would take this Varuni. To Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya said, "At once, give me the plow and club." Accepting Lord Chaitanya's order with his own hands, Lord Nityananda placed something in Lord Chaitanya's hands. Some saw, others did not see. Some saw the plow and club with their own eyes. They to whom the Lord was merciful saw, others had no power to see. Although Lord Nityananda was openly manifested before everyone, only a few persons were able to understand these confidential truths. Accepting the plow and club from Lord Nityananda, the Lord became like a madman. "Varuni, Varuni," he screamed. No one understood. No one knew what to do. Everyone looked at each other's faces. In their hearts, everyone thought of what to do. They gave a pot of Ganga water to the Lord. The Lord offered the water to everyone, and then he himself drank. The Lord thought he was drinking wine made with kadamba flowers. Surrounding him on four sides, the devotees recited prayers to Lord Balaram. At every moment, the Lord called, Nara, Nara, Nara. As if intoxicated, again and again, he nodded his head, Nara, Nara. He called. No one knew what Nara meant. Does anyone know what he's referring to? Everyone asked, Lord, who is Nara? Please tell us. The Lord replied, he called out for me, and I came. You call him Advaita Acharya. It is because of Nara that I descended to this world. Nara brought me here from Vaikuntha. Now he happily stays with Haridas. I have descended to this world to begin the Sankirtan movement. In home after home I will make people chant the holy names. Persons who are mad after academic learning, wealth, family, material knowledge, and dry austerity naturally commit offenses to my devotees. To those lowly people I will not give pure love of Krishna, but to the people of Nadia I will give pure love of Krishna, love that delights Brahma and all the demigods. Hearing this, all the devotees floated in bliss. The next moment, Lord Chaitanya became peaceful and sober. Was I restless? The Lord asked. The devotees replied, there was nothing wrong. The Lord affectionately embraced everyone. He said, please don't take seriously the offenses I make at every moment. When the Lord spoke these words, all the devotees smiled. Then Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda rolled about on the ground. Wrapped in ecstatic trance, wild Lord Nityananda accepted no restraint. The Lord who bears the name Shesha was overcome with the nectar of Lord Krishna. So, that's just a little sample of the nectar actually of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda's pastimes, which are exalted as the most merciful, the most magnanimous incarnations of God. So as members of this Gaudiya Sampradaya, we've inherited this great fortune of literature. And it's to our great benefit to become a little bit familiar with these pastimes, and it really enlivens our whole Krishna consciousness, just hearing about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. I want to share one other very interesting point from Sri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. There's some fascinating information actually about Lord Brahma and many of our other acharyas in their relationship with Lord Gauranga. Lord Brahma prays, when will I become so fortunate to take birth as a blade of grass in Navadvip Dham? Then I will receive the dust from the feet of the devotees who are engaged in serving the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga. Alas, Lord Chaitanya has cheated me, for he has placed me in charge of the management of the universe. When will the knots of my karma be cut? When will my mind be purified as I give up false pride? And when will the illusion that I am the supreme authority cease as I become a pure servant under the shelter of Gauranga's lotus feet? So here, even all the demigods, they're very eager to get the association or the opportunity to worship Lord Chaitanya. And this is what we've been hearing about. The demigods are praying in Bhagvatam. How fortunate are the inhabitants of Bharatvarsha. They have this amazing opportunity, what to speak of the opportunity to worship Lord Gauranga himself. Now this is a nice question, of course. Nityananda Prabhu was responding to Sri Jiva Goswami. Sri Jiva said, "Oh Lord, what is the reason for the name Antardvip?" These are one of the regions in Mayapur. Nityananda Prabhu answered, "At the end of Dvarpa Yuga, Brahma undertook austerities here with a desire to achieve Gauranga's mercy. Brahma had tried to deceive Govinda by stealing the cowherd boys and calves, but when he saw he was defeated by his own tricks, he became miserable and regretted his offense. He entreated Krishna with many prayers, and Krishna forgave him. But later, Brahma considered, thinking that I am the creator of the universe is useless. Simply because of this fault, I have been deprived of Krishna prema and enjoyment of the rasas of Vrindavan. If I could have taken birth as a cowherd boy, I could have easily served the master of the gopis. Although I was not able to achieve the nectar of those pastimes, now when Gauranga appears, I will not fall prey to my wicked mind." Thinking like this, Brahma began meditating and performing austerities in Antardvip. After many days, Gaurachandra mercifully came and said, "O Brahma, I am satisfied with your austerities. I have come to fulfill your desire." When Brahma opened his eyes, he saw Lord Gauranga and fell to the earth unconscious. The Lord put his foot on Brahma's head, and Brahma was enlightened with transcendental knowledge and began to pray. "I am a low and worthless wretch, controlled by pride. Forgetting your lotus feet, I have turned to material sense gratification. I myself, Lord Shiva, and the demigods headed by Indra are your subjugated servants. This is written in scripture. But we are not so fortunate as your pure servants, and thus Maya covers us with the net of illusion. The first 100 trillion years of my life have passed, and I have been forced to realize this at last. How will I spend the second 100 trillion years of my life? If I remain in illusion, I will simply suffer. My only prayer is that I may become your associate when you manifest your pastimes. Having given up the illusion that I am the creator, I want to take birth in your association and sing your glories." Hearing Lord Brahma's prayers, Lord Gauranga benedicted him, saying, "So be it. When my pastimes become visible on earth, you will take birth into Yavan's house. Your name will be Haridas Thakur, and you will be famous for humility and completely free from all pride. You will chant 300,000 names a day, and when you pass from this world, you will be seeing me. And at the end of the second 100 trillion years of your life, you will attain Navadvip Dham and be absorbed in eternal rasa." Brahma, hear these secret words, but do not reveal this openly in the scriptures. Taking the role of a devotee, I will taste the nectar of bhakti rasa and propagate the most rare process of sankirtan. I will make the devotees of all the previous avatars drunk with the nectar of Vrindavan. The love that Sri Radhika possesses is beyond my experience, so I will appear with her sentiments and complexion. Taking the position of Radha, I will taste that happiness that only Radha obtains in serving me. From today, act as my disciple, and in the form of Haridas, always serve me." Saying this, Gauranga became invisible, and Brahma fell to the ground unconscious. So, in Gaura Lila, actually, it's explained that devotees of all the other avatars get the opportunity to taste the nectar of Vrindavan, or the worship of Lord Chaitanya. I was fascinated, and I haven't fully completed this book, Sri Navadvip Mahatmya, but also is explaining Ramanujacharya had exchange with Gauranga, and he was actually worshipping Gauranga while he was preaching Dasya Ras in South India. He was absorbed in the mellows of worshipping Lord Gauranga. And Srila Madhvacharya, some of these days we were just describing, Vishnu Swami, they also get to experience the nectar actually of the worship of Lord Chaitanya, which is quite remarkable. So a few of the important points actually were there that there's things that can obstruct the opportunity to receive the mercy. We were hearing in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that if one has pride due to these different things, position, wealth, all these different identifications, actually, it can cause pride and cause one to offend devotees, and if one does that, then they cannot achieve the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And Lord Brahma says by his duty as the creator, actually, he has a little bit of identification with that, so that's also preventing him from being able to taste that experience. So again, the key is to rid ourselves of these designations, and in that way develop a pure, humble spiritual attitude by which we can receive the Lord's mercy that He's very eager to give. So I think that kind of concludes the pastime portion that I wanted to just share, and I did want to show a few visuals because it's very ecstatic and I find important for our Krishna consciousness to take darshan of the deities and pictures of the Lord. This is well known to Raktak Prabhu. But this actually does assist our Krishna consciousness to absorb ourselves in the form of the Lord. So I'll just show a little presentation here. Perhaps we can orient ourselves. Now also, there's a very beautiful bhajan by Srila Prabhupada. And it's called Nitai Pada Kamala. You may be familiar with this. So it's a very beautiful bhajan, and I think the most beautiful version is sung by Srila Prabhupada himself. So I'll play that as kind of some background, and we can enjoy Lord Nityananda. Maybe someone can get the lights. Are there any questions? Anything? Well, before this will be our kind of concluding section. Or anything anyone else would like to share on this subject or day? The deities are looking quite exquisite here. We're very fortunate. Lord Nityananda is personally manifested right here before us. So we have wonderful opportunity to engage ourselves in his service. And I'll just play this bhajan. I'm sure many of you are familiar. It's a prayer actually by Narottam Das Thakur. And he's glorifying and begging for the mercy. Let me just check. So I'll just show the translation in Sanskrit. If you like, you can sing, but we'll be showing different slides and images. But we can just meditate. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Thai Gaura Premanandi Grantaraj Srimad Bhagvatam ki Srila Prabhupada ki Gaura Premanandi. Also, we have a opportunity for service for Lord Nityananda. We'll be doing some vegetable cut up downstairs. Everyone is encouraged. Please join us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
very much.
Nice pictures, huh?
Huh?
Nice pictures, huh?
Yes,
Yes, beautiful pictures.